Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video. Manchester City have finally done it. They are through to their first Champions League final following a 2-0 victory over PSG on the night and a 4-1 victory on aggregate to claim victory in the semi-final and progress to the final in Istanbul, and are now just possibly 90 minutes away from triumphing in the Champions League, claiming their first Champions League title and making history in the process. But before we get on with talking about City, before we get on with talking about their historic night last night against the French champions, would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things will always and forever be greatly appreciated. But for now, let's get back to talking about Manchester City, their victory against PSG, and their progression to their first Champions League final. Before kickoff, we were all thinking that if this game was going to be anything like the first leg, we were going to be in for a game that was going to be full of quality and complete intensity from start to finish from both clubs. City came out on top in the first leg, of course, winning 2-1 on the night, carrying with them not only the scoreline but also 2 away goals into the second leg, which of course, as we all know, could have been an important factor come the final whistle. But it meant that PSG had it all to do in this game to overturn the deficit, and things were made a little bit more difficult for the French side with the news that Kylian Mbappe was said to be facing a race against time to be fit for this game. And in the end, it was revealed that Mbappe was to start on the bench for them. But actually, he never, in fact, came off the bench at all during this game. And it actually turned out to be quite the comfortable night for Manchester City, in which their tactics and their execution of the tactics and their team selection was all perfect for Pep Guardiola's side. However, it was the French side that started the brighter, but a swift City attack from back to front, literally from the goalkeeper to the front, saw Riyad Mahrez score the game's opening goal. That didn't really change things too much on the grand scheme of things, as PSG needed to score at least twice before kickoff. And of course, a City goal didn't change that. PSG still needed to score twice thereafter. However, City defensively were very strong, very resolute and disciplined, and restricted PSG from creating anything clear-cut in front of goal. And goalkeeper Ederson didn't really have too much to do throughout the entirety of the game, and a large part of that was actually down to the centre defensive pairing of both John Stones and especially Ruben Diaz, who threw themselves in front of everything and were solid brick walls throughout the whole entire 90-minute game. The game was properly put to bed just after the hour mark when Phil Foden teed up Riyad Mahrez to score his second and City's second of the night. From there, PSG completely lost their heads. Angel Di Maria got sent off after kicking out at Fernandinho, and what followed was a number of poor fouls from the French champions as their emotions and frustrations boiled over and got the better of them, and that caused the remainder of the game to lose its quality, lose its swift edge to it. PSG were quite fortunate that they weren't even down to 8 or 9 men, to be honest, and it only ended 11 v 10 for them. But in the end, City comfortably saw out the game and booked their ticket to Istanbul and to their final. Basically, the bottom line of this is that City are through to the final. Finally, that City are through to a Champions League final. It took them a number of years. It took them hundreds of millions, maybe even a couple of billions to achieve this. But they've finally made it and are now 90 minutes away from possibly winning their first Champions League title. But in all seriousness, it was a historic night for City. We shouldn't take it away. It was a historic night for City. They're a step closer to winning the one trophy that they've wanted to win for an extremely long time. The one trophy that has eluded them throughout this entire period of winning the lottery and getting all of this money pumped into their club, pumped into their squad, and are on the verge of creating even more history as a night in Istanbul awaits. Last night, the entire team from front to back, from back to front, was near enough perfect. There were no passengers last night, except maybe Ederson, who didn't really have much of a save to make, but still contributed by playing a part in the opening City goal. Riyad Mahrez will obviously get the spotlight due to the goals that he scored from last night and for his goal in the first leg as well. But Ruben Dias was an absolute beast in the heart of City's defence last night. It was absolutely an incredible performance by the centre-back. Elsewhere, John Stones was solid as well. It's probably the best game that I've ever seen Zinchenko play in a City shirt. Phil Foden was a constant threat to the PSG defence and was again on top form last night, whilst Kevin De Bruyne was fantastic in the false number 9 role that he played throughout that game. Overall, there was no messing around this time from Pep Guardiola, who's been accused in the past, particularly in this competition, of overthinking certain games, of making some questionable tactical and team selection decisions, which is why it's probably took the club this long to reach a final under his management. But so far in this competition, this season, during this campaign, he seems to have got it all right. And, you know, last night was hugely important that they did manage to achieve that and get it right. Pep was right on the money in this tactical master plan that he envisioned and came up with. It was right in terms of his team selection, and overall, fair play to him, fair play to Manchester City for executing that game plan near enough, like I say, to perfection and going on through to the final. Fair play to everybody involved, fair play to Man City, and fair play to the fan base as well. But of course, for every winner, there is of course a loser, and for PSG, it was a poor night overall, wasn't it? Mbappe not being 100% fit was unfortunate for them. The overall spectacle of the game as well took a bit of a hit from not seeing Mbappe. But for him to make the bench, but not even play any part at all, was a little odd to me. In his place, Mauro Icardi failed to turn up and was completely anonymous throughout the entirety of the game. Di Maria got sent off, and that truly summed up PSG's terrible night as a whole. Whilst all eyes for the French champions were, of course, on Neymar, he tried, he got on the ball, he tried to create stuff going forward, but there was just nothing happening around him, and he himself struggled to really conjure up any kind of Brazilian magic that we've been kind of used to seeing from him down the years at various points. Pochettino obviously gets a free pass this season, the new PSG manager. He gets a free pass due to only being in the job since December. But of course, it will be interesting to see how Poch carries this squad going forward, how he progresses this squad, because of course, as we all know, this is the competition that this team also is in desperate need of winning. PSG want to win this Champions League just as much as what Manchester City have wanted to, as they're in a similar position to what they are where it comes to the standing of this competition. But as we know, for right now, it won't be happening for them this campaign. So, City progress to the final and will face either Chelsea or Real Madrid in the final. And I think either way you look at it, I think you'd have to consider that City will be going into the final as favourites, regardless of whichever team they face, whether it be the Blues or whether it be this competition's most successful club in Real Madrid. I honestly think that City go into that game as the favourites. Their strong defence has been a constant and consistent factor, not just in this tournament, but of course in their domestic league as well. And they've constantly found goals from different areas, even with the way that sometimes they do play with a false number 9 at times. They constantly find goals in other areas, midfield, from wings. Last night, Riyad Mahrez obviously got the couple of goals that they needed from a right wing position, so that's just one example. But they've got goals from other areas. Gundogan, De Bruyne, Foden, so on and so forth. They can constantly find goals, even when they're not playing their two most recognised strikers in Sergio Aguero and Gabriel Jesus. one or the other, both up front. So City definitely have the tools to make it past the next 90 minutes of this tournament and go on and win this competition. But of course, we will have to wait and see, because they're not indestructible. City are not indestructible. We've seen a few examples this season that City can be got at, but achieving that and exploiting City's weaknesses on a constant basis, or even thoroughly throughout an entirety of a 90-minute game, is easier said than done, and therefore anything can happen in a one-off game. Anything can happen in a game of 90 minutes. We've seen that numerous times in the past. But I'd say that City will be heading into the final as favourites regardless. And we wait and see tonight who will be joining them between Chelsea and Real Madrid. But of course, these are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What did you make of last night's game? What did you make of PSG completely losing their heads towards the end? And I guess you'd say not even really turning up to the game at all. They didn't really put in the kind of performance that I thought they would. Not really the kind of chasing performance that I thought they would for a team desperate to win this competition. But mainly, what do you think about Manchester City winning this game and progressing through to their first Champions League final, and are now just probably and possibly 90 minutes away from becoming the Champions League winners for the 2020-2021 season? I'd love to know your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions down below in the comment section. I'm sure that will make for interesting reading. Otherwise, hit that like button on the way if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things are always and thoroughly greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video, and I will see and speak to you all again soon in another video.